Oh.
Hey, what is up, everybody, and welcome to the Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. He is Kevin Reynolds, I am Bobby Wall, and we are here to talk all things football and hit you with some takes that might rattle you up a bit. We are going to discuss on tonight's show the Week 14 that was, and look into Week 15, which some of our playoffs will be starting this coming week. So, always an exciting time of year. How you doing, Kevin?
Hanging in there, brother. Starting to feel healthy. I'm about 95% now. Not
It's only
coughing much,
taking
but
you
when I do, some crap comes up. But we're looking pretty good. Get ready
It'll
for
take you
Christmas.
6 weeks.
It's been a little over 4. I was reading some articles today about people just nationwide, just these long colds that just the body just struggling to really completely get rid of them. But we persevered.
It's rough. Have you done any thinking about something we mentioned on last week's show about how to determine double OT, like so that we don't end up with ties in the NFL like we did last week with the Giants and Commanders?
I've not put any more thought into that, but I actually, I'll be honest, I think ties are cool because it really screws with the standings. It makes it so teams have to win or lose games, and then we don't have to go to some BS freaking tiebreakers at the end of the season where you had the best record in a conference, but you played 4 different teams each, so it wasn't really even quite fair. So I don't like all that crap. I like ties throwing a cog into the works.
That's interesting because here I am, love free agency and all these crazy signings and these wild trades we had at the deadline this year because I love chaos. And that's what you always say, throwing it at me. Oh, you just love chaos. You love when things go haywire. And here you are, sir, having a little bit of my medicine.
I like chaos. I don't have any problem with chaos. I like things getting crazy. I would rather things come down to your actual record than some convoluted number 6 tiebreaker that you really had zero control over. So I like it. This is really throwing some crazy stuff out there.
And I think next week we'll get into some crazy stuff because next week is really when the playoffs start for most leagues.
Well,
What's that?
nothing.
Yeah, week 16, 17.
Yeah.
Now here we go. I know.
Yeah. Silliness.
But so we'll talk about some bad beats there. Some leagues maybe we didn't make the cut, some leagues we did, why that happened. I know there's a we'll talk about the one and done league today. Might as well just do it now while we're on it. You made the playoffs. There were how many teams in the league? 19? 18 teams. Nine make the playoffs. And when the playoffs start, the everybody's score goes to 0. So it's always a balancing act between when do you play big name players? Do you save them all for the end? What do you do? And you and I, we save as many horses for the end as we can. And going into this past week, I was in 7th. I think you were in 5th, maybe. We had a
Something like
little bit
that.
of a cushion, not much, and we had options, right? We could have gone off the course, strayed a little bit, and played some big name guys, or stuck to our guns, which is what we both decided to do at the 11th hour. Well, I guess technically the 12th hour, since it was
Yeah,
about
literally.
12:45. We
We
talked.
talked at 12:52. I think you were home and I was at the Christmas tree farm.
Yep, I was going to make a few changes and just figured, you know what, this worked all year. All I needed was to score about 105, 110 points. I'd have been good. Or I needed one guy not to score 155. Unfortunately for me, that happened. So I was on the outside looking in by 12 points. I think I missed the
17.9.
17. 17.9. That's, 2 weeks ago. I had Jimmy Garoppolo went out, got hurt on the first drive. This past week I played Corey Davis, but really came down to, like you said right before the show, I didn't need good luck. I just needed no luck. and it
No
didn't
bad
happen.
luck. Yeah, no bad
Right,
luck.
right.
Right.
And I was gonna play Hertz last week. I was gonna play AJ Brown. I was gonna play Jamar Chase. Like those were my big names I was gonna put in. Chose not to. That's on me, of course. But I'm on the outside looking in on the one and done. But you're in there, man, and we're rooting for you.
Well, thank you. I am, as you know, defending champion. So we'll have to see. I got lucky last year. I only won by 3.4 points in the end. I've looked through of the 9 people and I've got the most horses, but as you and I both know, it's when you play them. It's
Right.
when you play because
Matchups are
I might
key.
play Tyreek Hill in a week when he gets 3 points. Somebody else plays Elijah Moore, he gets 23. It's just the nature of the beast. I feel good about my spot in it, but so do the other teams. One thing I couldn't believe, because you and I have this down pretty good. You and I together, any of these leagues we've ever been, one of us or both of us at the same time have won these leagues. The top 4 guys in the league all played Justin Jefferson last week.
Interesting.
They had no chance. The only way they weren't going to make the playoffs is if they each scored like 30. I understand like 2 of them were really vying for first place. And I think that's why you really have a first place hit is you want maybe at the end, a couple guys really want that and waste a stud or 2 trying to win it. And that's what they certainly did. But again, if you're in the playoffs, you had the puncher's chance. We'll see how this goes here. But yeah, you got when Two Nuts scored 171 and 191 the week before.
Yeah.
362 points in 2 weeks
Yeah.
to go from next to last to 9th.
Or you know what? How about he doesn't? You know what? How about he gets his 171 he got? How about he just gets 171 2 weeks in a row and I'm in? If he doesn't drop 191 the week before.
It was crazy. I mean, you got to hand it to him at least.
He went for it.
He had to. He knew he had to. He actually, I talked to him before the games, and he said, I think I waited 1 week too many. Like I did great last week, but I'm still so far behind because so did everybody else. Like, well, here you go, just point after point after point.
What's that old golf adage? Don't leave an eagle putt short.
That's right. Yeah,
He certainly did not.
he did not. Yeah. He could never had a chance to go in if you leave it short. Yeah, he went after. Those were 2 all-pro lineups. They all hit, and more power to him. I'm upset that you're not in. As I told you a week or 2 ago, I always want to play against the second best.
Well, technically, I'm 10th best now.
I
It
guess
doesn't feel real good, but I guess I'm second best on the podcast for the one and done.
I was really surprised how well you took it. I wanted to give you a little breathing room. I wanted to wait Monday, so I didn't want you to reveal anything I was running because I always root for you, but you took it really well. I really thought I was going to call Reggie and have the shoestring sharp objects removed from the house. But you took it so much better than I expected. I don't know if that was a front or you literally were just like, you know what? I played my thing. I stuck with it and it just didn't work out.
So I am doing my best to raise a 4-year-old. I have decided to pursue my national board certification at work. I have 3 different clubs I'm running and creating a health curriculum. I have had this podcast and I'm in a bunch of different leagues. And I am so emotionally drained that I'm like Eli Manning. I can go out there and throw a touchdown pass to win the game, or throw a pick six to lose it, and I'm just even keel, man.
Yeah.
Like my heart rate doesn't go up or down anymore, man. I'm dull to a lot. So once we get some stuff in life squared away, I'll be a little more emotional, but it's tough right now.
I got you. Well, there's always next year. We'll go from here, and hopefully we can get a few more people. I'd really like to build this league up to like at least 50 people. I think that would just make it just really nuts to see how people would play it. But we have 4 weeks of cumulative scores coming up for those out there that only week 18 is involved in a league like this because week 18 factors into how you play. Because do I really want to wait and play Josh Allen week 18? No, because they might be playing for nothing and he might play 1 quarter. So week 18 really factors in big time to a league like this.
Definitely. And we're going to transition into the weekly breakdown by talking about our friend Albert Leach of the show. He was in our league of record. He was a win and you're in situation. And he took a guy we talked about last week who over the last 4 weeks was a QB6 and started him. Unfortunately, that guy was Derek Carr. and Albert Leach is no longer in the playoff hunt in our league of record because Derek Carr went 11 for 20 for 137 yards and 2 picks as the Raiders lost to the Rams. Josh Jacobs, he's a monster. I believe he's still RB1 after last week. I'll check to be sure of that. And Devontae Adams, help me understand this. We go into halftime. Devontae Adams has 3 catches for 71 yards, 2 of them highlight reels, and has 0 targets after halftime. And I'm not sure what's more surprising, that or the fact that Baker Mayfield not only played, but actually played pretty well and won the game for the Los Angeles Rams. Cam Akers scored a touchdown, averaging his usual 3.5 yards a carry. And Ben Skoranek, 7 for 89. But Van Jefferson was the guy to catch the score to win the game there.
He certainly was. He played well. I thought about playing him once, but you and I don't like playing. We don't like playing Thursday night guys, but we occasionally do break our rules and do it. I just couldn't do it for him. Not especially not knowing who's going to be playing quarterback. But man, that was such a fun thing to watch. I almost sent you a text like 11:45, just right. I was just going to write just wow, but I didn't know if I didn't want to accidentally wake you up. It was like watching the Bucks game the week before.
Right. Same game.
Yeah. Just do nothing the whole game. And then out of nowhere, you decide you're God and are unstoppable.
How do you not throw the ball to Devontae Adams?
I don't know.
0 targets the second half.
I watched the whole game, and the Raiders did nothing the whole second half. They looked like a team that just wanted to get out of the building with an easy win. They had made a nice little lead, and they just pretty much gave up trying.
Yeah. So there's not much, honestly, to talk about with that one. That's basically it. Baker Mayfield with a surprise come from behind win. So who's the worst coach in the NFL? Is it Josh McDaniels or is it Nathaniel Hackett for the Broncos?
I'm going to say Cliff Kingsbury.
That's fair.
He's just so awful now. I used to have some respect for him doing this Air Coryell stuff, but the fact that he's now going for like 38 fourth downs now. The other night, twice he went for 4th down in his own territory. Didn't make either. Ended up 10 points. They gave up because of it. He is awful. Hackett, I think, has just gotten thrown into a situation that a lot was expected and it hasn't worked out because Russell Wilson is just trash. And McDaniels, you're right, he's absolutely terrible. Doesn't belong. He's a great offensive coordinator. He does not belong being a head coach.
I agree. Who gets fired first?
Of the 3 of them, Hackett.
I think so too. I think so. Because Josh McDaniels at least has a little bit of street cred with the work he did in New England. And
he's got a huge contract.
Yeah, Kingsbury's been there.
They're not going to pay him, for years to not coach.
I think
Kingsbury's going too at the end of the season. I can't imagine.
Probably. But if only one of them were to get fired, I think I would pick Hackett. I have never, for as long as I've watched football and really gotten into fantasy and studied this stuff, I don't remember a team where every person in the industry was wrong. And sure, there's going to be some random Chiefs fan out there that's like, "Oh, I told you Denver's going to suck." That dude, no, you're speaking with your fandom and not your brain. No one. I don't know a single person. We're not even talking about the Broncos right now, but I don't know a single person that got that right.
No, you had him in the playoffs. I didn't have him in the playoffs, but I still had him at like 10-7.
Sure.
I just figured they'd be the 4th best team in their own division and not quite make it. But I thought everybody in that division would have a winning record. We were talking about how it was maybe the greatest collection of quarterbacks, maybe teams in a division ever. It has not panned out because the Raiders and Broncos are just been trash. And to be honest, the Chargers have been much better. If the playoffs started today, they wouldn't be in either.
Right. As well. In what was one of my favorite games of the week, the Detroit Lions took down what were they, 10-2? They were 11-2.
No, they were 10-2. Now they're 10-3.
Yeah, okay, 10-2 Vikings last week. Man, that was sweet. I loved it because I love when teams that are pretend they're good but really aren't get spanked by teams that you don't think are that don't seem good because they're record, but they really are, and that's the Lions. man, they are playing great football as of late. And Kirk Cousins, 425-2. Boy, that where has
Yeah.
that been? And granted, he doesn't play the Lions defense every week, but come on now. They shut down Dalvin Cook. He did find the end zone, but that was it for Mr. Cook. Justin Jefferson, good grief, 11 for 223 yards. I think I might have called you during the game or maybe afterwards, where once again Justin Jefferson was just bailing Kirk Cousins out. And I know Cousins had a good game, but Jefferson is such an animal and can catch anything. Though his catch radius has to be on par with like DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf's a monster. But
Oh
TJ
yeah.
Hawkinson did well, 6 for 77. Adam Thielen had some big catches, 7 for 65 and a touch. And then KJ Osborne threw in his score as well. But you have Kirk Cousins in your league of record. How nice was it to finally see him do something?
It was good because through about 2.5 quarters, he had done nothing. They were so far behind, they just started chucking the ball, which is what we thought they might do at the beginning of the season. But they haven't had to. They've been winning. Though at 10-3, they are being outscored on the season.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
-4
crazy.
differential.
But JJ, he's on pace to break Megatron's single season receiving record. And just like him that year when he had like 1,970 yards or something, Megatron had 5 touchdowns that year. That's it. I don't know how many times he got caught on the 2 or the 1 because I had him and I was angry about it. JJ, I think, only has 6 touchdowns on the year. He's on pace to break the yardage record, but still only 6 TDs. He didn't
That's
score
tough.
in this one. 200. How do you have 223 yards and not even get one?
I know. I mean, he's got 3 games with over 180 receiving yards.
Has he scored in any of them?
Good question. No. Yes, he had 10 for 193 and 1 against Buffalo back in the
Oh
second week of
yeah,
November.
week 10.
And week 1,
Week 1
yes,
was
he had
huge.
9 for 184 and 2.
Yeah, that was a nice week. But yeah, he has all these other games. 147, 154 didn't score. 223. It's crazy. He only has 6 touchdowns. Actually, he has 7. My apologies, but one of them was a rush.
And then the Lions stepping up, obviously, and taking
Jared
down that
Goff,
losing
baby.
team. Yes, 330
Man,
yards, 3 touchdowns. He might be their quarterback of the future. That running game's a mess. They don't know what they're doing. DeAndre Swift led the way 2 weeks ago and then only had like 9 touches this past week. Something that's odd. DJ Chark, who we both played in the one and done, good call on us for that one. 6 for 94 and a touchdown. And Josh Reynolds scored, as well as, hey, Jameson Williams. Welcome to the NFL, sir.
what were they doing? It
Not
almost
covering
looked like
Jameson Williams.
it almost looked on that play like he just stood at the 5-yard line before the play even started.
Yeah.
There was like
Cherry
nobody within 25 yards of him. It was bizarre.
It was like full court pickup basketball where like the one
Yeah,
guy is
cherry
too fat
picking.
to run down the other end of the and play defense. He just waits at the other end and
It
hopes for that
was
baseball pass.
it was so weird looking. He literally
Yeah.
stood there and caught that ball like a punt. He wasn't even running. He just threw the ball straight up here. He stood there like on the 5 and just caught it like a punt, turned around and walked into the end zone.
Yeah. I mean, good for him. I'm happy he's got
Great.
and
Overall, yeah, the running game didn't go. Swift, that's that's part of what costs you too. We both
sure.
played him. He did nothing. Everybody thought I saw things that had him was like ranked like the number 7 running back going into the week. Thought he'd finally turned the corner. Got all those touches last week. A high scoring
had him
game
at 11, I think.
Yeah, and
still
nothing
RB1.
happened. But Goff is the story, dude. They're already saying that they're welcoming back with open arms next year, and if he can do this again, that they feel they're not going to waste any picks on a quarterback next year. They're going to keep building. And dude, this team, we talked about it before the season started. Man, boy, are they building for the future. This is, and they still got a chance. They're still in the wild card hunt.
Yes, I know, man. I'm pulling for the Lions, buddy.
Me too. It'd
Man,
be
let's go
awesome.
Detroit. Oh man, what's not awesome is your Ravens, dude, almost dropping one to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tyler Huntley did not look good in his first start of the season. J.K. Dobbins had the worst looking 120 yards rushing on 15 carries for a touchdown I think I've ever seen. His stride length, I mean, it looked like someone like tightened up his hamstrings as tight as they would go, and he couldn't step. He had these little baby steps trying to run down the field. Obviously, if you start him in fantasy, you're stoked. You can't.
Well, yeah.
Hopefully, he didn't start any pass catchers. But man, Dobbins, and then I shared a picture to the Facebook page of his knee, like just a random picture of him celebrating his touchdown. And you look at his knee, and he's got these two prongs poking out of
Like
his kneecap.
Frankenstein.
Oh my gosh, that cannot be good, man. This guy's
I,
not going to be able to walk in a year and a half.
He might not, but I guess he's going to make the most out of it till then. The whole Ravens thing now, I think, I was close on this. Remember, at the end of the show, I called it last week. I said it's going to be 15-10. I think it ended up, 16-14, something like that?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
pretty close.
It's true.
But Dobbins looked great. Nobody expected that. They thought he was coming back off IR. He might get 5 carries. Nobody
That's what they thought
expected
Gus
this.
Edwards earlier in the year, and he ended
Right,
up having like 20
exactly.
kills.
This is like they're like the Patriots now. You never know week to week who's going to get the ball. You can't really rely on anybody, even Mark Andrews anymore. Here, I save him up all year long for the once and done, and I don't even know if I'm going to get to play him.
2 for
He's
17.
awful. He doesn't
Yeah.
even get. He only had 6 targets the whole game. They only had 16 passes plays the whole game. It's classic Ravens Steelers team, but it's ugly for fantasy.
Deontay Johnson was okay, 6 for 82. Still didn't find the end zone. Pat Fryermuth did, but that was about it for him. Only 33 yards receiving. And Najee Harris fell into the end zone, so you're okay there. But Kenny Pickett, he ended up getting hurt right out the gate. So Mitch
One
Trubisky
attempt.
came in. And so I still don't know the difference between Mitch Trubisky and Baker Mayfield. I feel like they're the same person.
They
They
play.
look the same on the field. They throw the same.
Yeah.
Like they're equally talented.
Well,
It's odd.
equally less than talented.
Okay.
Yeah, Mitch didn't look good. So I mean, that's why they're talking about maybe starting Mason Rudolph this week. Omar Epps said today he's 50-50 on which one's going to go. He'll let the press will know when I put a quarterback out on the field. Pickett, they said, did a little bit of stuff at practice. They don't think he's going to get cleared the concussion protocol. So if you have a Steelers skill player, don't play him this week.
Got the trust, that's for sure. Especially trying to get into your playoffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wouldn't want to do it.
The Bengals took down their division foe, the Cleveland Browns, 23-10. Deshaun Watson, he looked better. Still didn't look very good. Nick Chubb and no one on the ground game for Cleveland looked good. DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, 8 for 114, leading the team. David Njoku had 59 yards receiving and a score, which, I mean, if you start him at tight end, you are thrilled with that. Amari Cooper, who I know you have for your one and done. Sometime in the playoffs, you're going to play him. That scares me. We talked about that today. 2 for 42 for him. It's tough. I mean, he can blow up for you, but
I saved him all year. We talked about this in like week 6. I saved him all year because I figured when Watson came back, boy, what a connection there, as well as he was doing with Brissett. When Watson comes back, that adds an extra 50 yards and half a touchdown per game. But it's not looked that way so far.
Here's a question for you. Joe Burrow, 239, 2 touchdowns and a pick. If you have a running back with 14 carries for almost 100 yards, averaging just about 7 yards a carry, why do you not give him more carries? I know you won the game and everything, but Joe Mixon was good. Why not give him the ball more?
Bengals are much like the Eagles. They have inexplicable play calling. You have guys that can do all kinds of things for it and are doing it in the game, and you just abandon it. I don't understand it either. The difference here is the Bengals. Well, actually, the Bengals are 9-4 now, so they won 5 in a row. And the Eagles are winning all the time, so it doesn't get questioned. But if you would start to lose, yeah, those questions start to come out. Well, you had a running back who was averaging 7 yards per carry, and then you ran 3 times in the second half. Please, could you explain that? How do you explain that?
Especially for Joe Mixon owners.
Yeah, exactly. Or Miles Sanders owners.
nuts.
It's inexplicable. But the Eagles, I think, are starting to learn that, hey, maybe we've got something here,
They
and
do.
maybe we can alleviate a little bit of the pressure on Hurts if we actually use this guy.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, I don't understand the Bengals. Mixon's going to end up again, like we said, he's going to end up like a top 10 back, but more like a top 20 back, and he would up 10 spots from one game.
Yep. Jamar Chase, monster, 10 for 119 and 1, but that's helped because T. Higgins didn't play at the
No,
last second. They just didn't put him out on the field.
no,
Hamstring injury.
he was out for one play.
So that was fun.
Yeah, that was it. He said that Zach Taylor said that they left him in. He was healthy enough that he could run a fade in the end zone if they needed him to. So they decided to dress him and keep him out there.
Jerk move, if you ask me.
It is for us. It's not for
For sure.
them. It's smart for
Right.
them.
Oh,
But
yeah.
right, for the fantasy world, it's crap.
Yeah. The Jets lost to the Bills. I was kind of hoping for more from this one. Only 32 combined points here. Mike White, no touchdowns, no picks. 268 yards is okay, but this dude got destroyed twice. I
He
thought
got wrecked.
I thought his rib cage was going to just pop
It was
right
like
out of his spine.
WWE stuff. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar spearing somebody. It was freaking nuts.
I rarely feel bad for a player because we all know what we sign up for. You play football, like Traylon Burks a couple weeks ago got destroyed in the end zone. I don't care. That's what you get, dude. Man, I felt terrible for poor Mike White. I mean, you could see he was in so much pain, writhing around on the ground.
Yeah.
Poor fella. Zonovan Knight, their undrafted free agent rookie, came through again, 71 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. He's a big, bruising guy.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you don't throw a touchdown pass, it's tough to have a big day from your pass catchers. 6 catches for Garrett Wilson, or 60 to 80 yards. So, I mean, they're okay. At PPR, you're a little happier, but it's whatever. Josh Allen was on his way to having a horrible day until he ran a touchdown in. He had less than 150 yards through the air, only one passing touchdown, but that rushing score really helped him out.
How crazy is it? He gets 20.6 points and we're all disappointed.
I know. I know.
That's how good he is.
And of course, I was going against him in a league, and without his rushing stats, I'm the victor. Instead, I got one more game this week. I got to win, and I'm in. But Dawson Knox was the guy who caught that touchdown pass. Even Stephon Diggs, 3 for 37. Nothing in this game is really what you wanted.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. I saw online what the first 10 series, 5 and 5. Kittle, crap. I guess you already saw Kittle scored. Somehow you're always way ahead of me on this.
Yeah, I'm
But
actually not even watching this week.
I think the first 10 series all ended punts.
Yes.
5-5, yeah. 10 straight punts
awful.
to start the game. And I guess it depends. If you wanted to watch a defensive game, it was great. If you were into fantasy, it was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So wasn't real pretty. Bills pulled it out. I really hope that them and the Chiefs are tied going into week 18 and they both have to play everybody.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Actually, I sort of hope they don't because I don't have any of them playing in week 18. So actually, I sort of hope they don't because that way other people that are saving them are going to get the screws put to them.
Okay. Always thinking about yourself, Kevin. That's what I like
Got
about
that
you.
straight.
In the most surprise, and you don't have anything else for that one, right?
No, there wasn't a
Okay.
lot to talk about in that game,
Right.
really.
In the most surprising game of the week, the Dallas Cowboys were losing most of the game to the Houston Texans. The one win Houston Texans ended up eking it out at the very end of the game. They won 27-23. Davis Mills is terrible. Luckily, they have Jeff Driscoll to come in and look equally as bad, although he did throw a touchdown on his 6 attempts. Jeff Driscoll is quarterback and tight end eligible in Yahoo leagues. So that's fun. And Lovie Smith already came out and said, I don't know, we might play Davis, we might play Jeff, we might play them both again. We'll see. Damian Pierce, 78 yards on the ground. He's really fallen off as far as his efficiency. He did score for you, though. I know he's fighting an injury. I'm not sure about his status for playing this week. We'll have to see.
I've not seen a single source yet say that he's playing. Everybody says he's going to be out at least one game.
Okay, so obviously something to keep an eye on. And the receivers. Brandon Cooks was out, as was Nico Collins. So
Mhm.
Chris Moore, who you hear his name once a year for a team you didn't know he played for, 10 catches, 124 yards. But the big guy for the Houston Texans is Amari Rogers. He got cut from the Green Bay Packers a few weeks ago. He got cut in the SiriusXM Fantasy Host Dynasty League. I picked him up, didn't play him, but I got him on the lineup now. So he was talented in college, man. And as soon as I saw him out there, I had to have him. Got him. So hopefully this turns into something. And then Dallas, Dak Prescott did not look good. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard were both fine. They both scored, got 40 to 60 rushing yards. And then Dalton Schultz, as far as pass catchers go, that you actually started, 6 for 87. Other than that, didn't really matter.
Yeah, this was a downer game, and you and I have talked before about some of the experts who sit there and act like just because you're a way better team that you can just walk in and easily win. But we both know these are trap games. There wasn't I didn't see a single source last week didn't have the Cowboys defense as the number one ranked defense going in. They ended up scoring 4 points. They were awful. But this is the NFL, right? You never know. They're professionals, all of them. You never know when you're going to go into the building and get your butt kicked around a little bit. But we talked for great teams find a way to win those really tough games. I get tired of hearing these people on TV talking about how all of a sudden they're awful and they're not Super Bowl worthy and all this crap. Like, really? They won. They won. Like, what are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense. You tell me what you think about that as a football player.
I agree 100%. Now, but you and I have those conversations as well. We both started the Dallas Cowboys in the defense in a one and done because they were guaranteed double-digit points.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Um, it's still surprising. You don't expect the Cowboys to be,
Well, I agree with that. It was surprising outcome that it was that close. Yes, I agree. But not surprising in the grand scheme of it that it's 2 NFL teams. You never know.
You're right. You're right. I hear you. Um, Moving on to the 12-1 Philadelphia Eagles stomped the New York Giants, and
Sure
it
did.
was rough from the start, man. Jalen Hurts barely had 200 yards passing, but he did have 2 touchdowns to the air and 77 yards on the ground with the rushing score. Miles Sanders,
Woo!
144 yards rushing, and not one, but 2 touchdowns on the ground. A.J. Brown scored. Devonta Smith scored. My guy, Calcaterra, he didn't score, but he got some playing time, which I like to see because I also have him in the Dynasty League. And then for the Giants, Daniel Jones wasn't very good. At least he didn't lead the team in rushing this week, although he did score yet another rushing touchdown. Saquon Barkley got shut down. Richie James
Yeah.
scored if for some reason you had him in your flex, but that's it because nobody had Isaiah Hodgins anywhere.
Barkley had a poor game, but that was probably game script. He was removed early in the third quarter. He didn't play again because weren't they already down 28-0? Was this game 28-0 at one point?
Maybe.
It was close to it. It was
Yeah,
never even
it was
close
rough.
to competitive. 5 minutes into the game, you already knew who was going to win. The Eagles tore it up. Miles Sanders helped me to another 2-0 week. I'm the number 3 seed in my league. 6 teams make it because it's a 16-team league, but I do still have to play the number 6 seed this week.
Are you talking about the 8th overall fantasy running back, Miles Sanders?
I told you a good year when we were naming people. He was my surprise player of the year. Who was going? You agreed that there was no way he wasn't going to improve on last year's 0 touchdowns. And now he's getting the yardage to go with it. It's been great. I have to play the number 6 seed this week. Bear balls in your eye. We'll see how that goes. There are some crazy bad beats in my league this week. One of them was the guy that was going to be the 6 seed, Paulie, Pirate Crew, ends up going 2-0. The guy in front of him, Bear balls in your eye, goes 2-0. Paul had to make up some like 58 points or something, though, in the week. What's Paul go out and do? He scores 176. Beats him by 61 and ends up the number 2 seed, gets way more money and straight into the semifinals. It was freaking nuts. Nonetheless, the Giants, that looked ugly. They have nothing good with pass catching. It's just very hit or miss. Barkley, I think, will turn things around when they're playing closer games, and he's finally seems back to 100% health. I certainly hope so because I have him going one of these 4 weeks in the once and done. You can start
So
any Eagles player any week. There's
yeah,
never any
you
reason
really
to
can.
not. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care if they're playing
E-
the Cowboys, the 49ers. You play them every
Even
week.
even with Dallas Goddard back, and
Oh, and he
look,
should be
Jalen
back
Hurts.
this week, what we're seeing.
Yeah, right. You can't tell me that Jalen Hurts is not the MVP in the NFL. I
Easily.
can't really hear anybody else's name.
Yet it wasn't until about a week ago that all the experts have finally really pushed him up to number one. And like, there's nobody even close.
When the
I
year
don't.
started, by week 2 or 3, we were like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. That's it. Lamar fell off. Josh Allen stuck around. Hurts is doing well. Hurts is doing well. Josh Allen hadn't done much the past few weeks, and I mean, who else is it besides Hurts?
It's just him and Mahomes.
Justin
They keep.
Jefferson,
And it's him
maybe.
and Mahomes. No, they wide receivers never won it and probably never will. They'd have to do something crazy. It's really Hurts and Mahomes now, but I don't know how you couldn't give it to Hurts. I just don't. The stats, the team record, what he means to the team. I can't. I I can't make an argument for anybody else. It's not really. I don't know how it even is an argument.
Mahomes has one interception shy of 4 times the amount of picks that Jalen Hurts has 22 passing. Let's call it 32 total touchdowns, 3 picks, 2 lost fumbles.
This is like Lamar's big season, right? The 32
Yes.
touchdowns, five interceptions. It's just sickening.
Mahomes has 11 picks already.
And Micah Parsons comes out this week and says that he's just the beneficiary of a system. That it's not him. It's just the system. I was like, really?
Well, he said that about Hurts and Mahomes.
About Hurts. You didn't see that? Yeah. 2 days ago, he was in an interview and he said it's not him. It's that, of course, he's walked it back now saying he's a great player, but at the time he said it's not Hurts at all. It's just a system. That's why he's looked as good as he has.
2 things about that. Number one, Jalen Hurts is not Tom Brady. However, Tom Brady was a system guy. I mean, think the system they had in New England, it helped make Tom Brady
Yeah.
who he was. Now, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But also that being said, Michael Parsons looked like a fool trying to play the Eagles, whenever Philly beat them, however many weeks
Yeah.
ago that was. So I'm
I
sure he's
mean,
still got a sour taste in his mouth with
if
that.
you're Micah Parsons and you're going to end up being the defensive player of the year and Jalen Hurts will end up being MVP offensive player of the year, I guess you're allowed to run your mouth a little bit, but it's just a sort of a stupid thing to say. I'm all into smack talk, but something like that is just asinine. There's no factual base to it. It's just dumb. And all you're doing is firing up the guy that you're trying to catch. Didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, maybe it'll, it's the locker room fodder. Let Hurts put it up in his locker and motivate him. Let's do it.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make why wake the sleeping giant, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
But whatever.
Do we have a sleeping giant in the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because they surely put the screws, as you like to say, to the Tennessee Titans, my friend. Trevor Lawrence.
Kamler still might be right. Maybe it's tough in the AFC, but he might. There's a chance.
368 yards for Trevor Lawrence and 3 passing touchdowns, plus a rushing touchdown, 4 TDs for the former number 1 overall pick. He who shall not be named just had the best game that he has had in his career and ever will have in his career. 11 for 162 and 2 receiving touchdowns. And then Zay Jones, 877 and 1. Man, you can start Zay Jones any week you have to.
No, you can't. I started 2 weeks ago and he got me 2 points.
Any week but that week.
My receivers. I'm the worst receiver picker ever.
Nah, you're okay. If you pick Derrick Henry, you did all right, though. 121 yards on the ground. He always crushes the Jaguars. Always.
That whole division, he kills them.
I don't understand. I would only, if I was a Titans, I would sign Derrick Henry and he'd only have to play 6 games. And they were when we were in division. and he would get 40 carries each game and still get 1,000 yards rushing on the season.
Yeah, he's a beast.
I mean, this guy's unreal. Hey, do you remember last week when I was like, hey, for my start of the week, and we're not a limb here, but how about Austin Hooper? He's the leading receiver on the Titans, 5 for 68.
He was.
I mean, that's not saying much, but tight end land, you'll take it.
Yeah, Okonkwo looked good, man. He's the future there.
You realize the Titans are almost 500. They're 7-6.
Yeah, and the Jags are what are the Jags now? Are they 5-8?
5-8 now, yep.
Yeah, so this could still happen, and they play in week 18.
What if the Jaguars and the Lions make the playoffs?
That would be glorious. God, that would be so awesome.
I,
That would be great. Now,
man,
he who shall not be named and Trevor Lawrence were the two highest scorers in my league of record. I guess in many leagues they were, depending on your scoring system.
unreal.
Mine, they were the two highest. Who would ever put any money on that? Man, I'd love to see them keep doing this. I really would. I can't count on it. I would love that week 18 game because even if the Jags are one game behind them going into week 18, it's basically a moot. It's basically tied because Titans win, they have it. Jags win, they'll have it because they'll end up tied, but they'll have the 2-0 head to head. So if the Jags can get this to within one game, week 18 will be for all the marbles in that division.
Come on, Doug Peterson.
Oh, it would be so great. What a great story that would be. But man, is Trev now finally turning the corner? He looked awful 2 weeks ago, but he looked great this week.
It's amazing what good coaching will do for you.
It certainly
you
doesn't
know
hurt.
what? You know what I forgot? I forgot about our Kansas City Chiefs and our Denver Broncos game where the Denver Broncos scored 28 points. That's like basically 4 games in one for them. So awesome. Hats off to you, Denver. Way to go. Patrick Mahomes threw as many interceptions in this game 3, as Jalen Hurts has thrown all year long.
Yeah.
He did throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, though. So obviously that was great. Isaiah Pacheco, I don't know what to think of this guy. He's good. He's very talented, but they just don't use him enough. He only had 13 carries.
Yeah, he
70
averaged over
yards.
6 yards a carry.
I know. Get
Don't
this
want
guy
they
the
don't
ball,
that
man.
offense isn't built for the running back. It's just not.
Well, unless
anymore.
the running back is catching the ball, like
Well,
Jarrett
that
McKinnon.
was, and one of those was
Kevin.
pure crap. It was just like spaghetti running down the field.
Yeah.
You can't count on those type things for McKinnon all the time.
It was like a Jameson Williams thing. There's no one around him. He was just like, it was odd.
Yeah. And they were
7
up
for
28.
112.
They were up 28-0 in this game.
Yeah. And then Juju did it 9 for 74 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Every now and then he's good for one of these games. So
Yeah, you just
good for him.
you have to hope you hit it.
Yeah. Russell.
Yeah.
Don't look now. 3
First
touchdowns.
good game of the year.
There's no way he has another game with 3 touchdown passes. This has to be his only 3 touchdown pass.
Yeah, he only had 8 on the year going into this. Yeah, he didn't have any. The most he had, he actually, matter of fact, he only had 1 game with 2 back in week 4.
And how about Jerry Jeudy with not 1, not 2, but 3
What
touchdown
was that? What was that?
Well, he was the only guy on the field. Marlon Mack was the second leading receiver on that team. There was no Cortland Sutton, so you got Kendall Hinton, Mike Boone, Eric Tomlinson, Jalen Virgil. I mean, how about Brandon Johnson? There's a normal name for you, but you never heard of him.
Crazy. And now Russ probably isn't going to play this week. It's
Brett Ripien.
Finally bringing around. Now you got the old Ripping out there. So good luck, Broncos. You're going to have a really high draft pick.
Yeah. No, you're not.
Or no, they gave theirs away. Seattle's going to have a really high draft pick.
Yes, love it.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? The Broncos at least showed a little life. 28-0. They could have gave up. After that, they won 28-6, but just couldn't catch up.
Somehow, the Seahawks, who we were just talking about, lost to the Panthers in a home game. Panthers had to fly cross country for this and drop 30 points on the Seahawks and won by 6. Sam Darnold taking them to the promised land. Not much on the Chuba Hubbard, I guess. He was, Deontay Foreman started the game. He was the bell cow, if you will, with 21 carries, the leading rusher. Chuba Hubbard only 14 carries, but had the same amount of yards as Foreman, 74, and he found the end zone. And the receiving was there was a lot left to be desired there. The leading receiver at 31 yards. So
how does a team score 30 points with only 120 yards passing?
Right. What was their total yards? It couldn't have been.
They had a lot of rush. They had well over 200 rushing yards.
Yeah, you're right. That's man. It doesn't look good on paper. Geno Smith, uncharacteristic 2 interceptions for him, and with Adam Schefter coming out saying Tony Jones Jr. was going to start the game for the Seahawks. I don't know where that came from because he only had 1 carry. Travis Homer had 9. And then touchdown catches for Marquise Goodwin, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. Is Marquise Goodwin, you can't start him because you don't know when it's going to happen.
Because even
But
that
he has,
touchdown was on the last play of the game.
yeah, he's had quite a few fantasy relevant games though.
He
Quite a
has, but
few.
yeah. Yeah, he had that late touchdown last play of the game, but they look good. You started Geno Smith, I believe. He had you a good game, not a great game.
Yeah, 22 maybe.
21.8. Yeah. They looked overall good, but boy, that killed the Seahawks playoff chances. That really might set them back there. But overall, a decent game. I didn't see any of it except a couple. Actually, the only thing I think I saw from the whole game, the only highlight was that Goodwin catch. I did see that or he is Kenny Walker's playing tonight, so he's back. What
I'd imagine he's going to be on a pitch count tonight. We'll
I agree.
see.
Travis Homer will probably get more carries than he will, more touches, but we'll see how it goes.
Well,
Panthers are still in it too
uh, do you know why?
because they're
Because
whole
Tampa Bay Buccaneers
6-7. Yeah, they're
they got
awful.
35-7 drubbing by the 49ers. This game, talk
Yep.
about not ever being close. Tom Brady, another 50 plus attempts, only 250 yards, only one touchdown through the air, two interceptions, not looking good. Rashad White is looking good, and he's just flat out better than Leonard Fournette. I'm just
Oh yeah,
watching the game
no
and
doubt.
watching them play. You know, Fournette will get a carry, and then Rashad White will come in and get a carry, and it's just they're not the same back. It's not even close. And when Brady doesn't do well, the receivers don't do well. Chris Godwin, leading receiver, 5 for 54. Mike Evans hasn't had a good game in what feels like 2 years. I have no idea what's going on with
He was
him. And
gangbusters early in the year 15, 26, 10, 14, 15. Since then,
and
six
then
five
that's it.
or 6'7", 4'7", 6.
Yep.
Glad I saved him.
Yeah. I had him saved too, buddy. Um, and then you called this last week with Shanahan. I don't think you were too worried about Brock Purdy at all because Shanahan's plan, the game plan Shanahan came up with. Brock Purdy only had 5 incompletions
Yep.
all game. Now he only threw it 21 times, but he still completed 16 of them for almost 200 yards, but 2 touchdowns.
Yep. Or
Obviously,
on
it's
the ground.
helpful. Yep, and right, and it's helpful when you got the weapons he does, like Debo, and Debo's out for several weeks with an injury, but you got Christian McCaffrey you can throw to, George Kittle you can throw to,
Ayuk
and
had a TD.
right, and if you can throw to Christian McCaffrey, you can hand the ball off to that dude because what a stud, man! It was sort of like a week or two learning curve coming over from Carolina, but wheels up, brother. He is a man.
I still say completely 100% healthy. He is the biggest weapon in the league.
How do you argue that?
It's him. You could maybe argue Justin Jefferson, but McCaffrey touches the ball so many more times that I just don't know how you can say it's not him.
When you say the word weapon, you can't throw Jefferson in there.
Yeah, because you
Debo,
don't see the
Debo,
ball enough.
maybe his own teammate, you might be able to throw him in
Yeah,
there because you're not putting Jefferson at tailback. Yeah, I know he gets one carry a game or something like that, but that's not what he does. It
right.
is what Debo does, and it is what McCaffrey does. If you watch the game, McCaffrey's open on every play.
Yeah,
They could throw it to him on every play if they wanted to.
yeah. They haven't lost a game since they got him.
I love watching him play football. He's just great football player.
My fear is the Niners will do the same thing they always do. They're going to have this huge push. They're going to go to the playoffs, and then they're just going to do nothing. They're going to lose a
Could be.
game that they shouldn't lose. But I'll be damned if they aren't awesome to watch. I don't. Maybe aside from the Eagles' offense, they're the most exciting. Or in
Oh yeah.
Buffalo, these Niners offenses maybe the most exciting in the league as far as you never know what the hell kind of Shanahanigans are going to come out. You never know what they're going to call, what play they're going to run, which guy each week. There's other teams you pretty much know what's going to happen. Teams just can't stop it. The Niners, it's actually fun to watch.
Imagine if either McCaffrey played for Philly or Hurts played for the 49ers, which I know that's what they were looking for in Trey Lance, but each of those teams are missing that one little piece that would make
Right.
them maybe the best offense in history with the amount of weapons and the game planning that the defense would have to
Yeah.
do to get in there. I mean, think about like take it back to the greatest show on turf. How do you defend against Marshall Falk and Isaac Bruce
And
and
Torrey Holt.
Azahir? What was it?
Azahir Hakim.
Yeah, it is. There it is. Kurt Warner.
but it was Torrey Holt was the big other
Oh
one.
yeah. Oh
And then
yeah.
they had Ricky Prohl. It was
Mm,
an embarrassment of riches.
yeah, for
And
sure.
you're right. What you just said was the question. They couldn't. They
Yeah.
couldn't defend it.
Right.
They were what they were. Teams couldn't defend it, but they still found ways to lose.
Speaking of which, somehow the Dolphins lost to the Chargers, which is whatever, except they looked horrible. There was no one worth having in fantasy outside of Tyreek Hill, who only had 4
It's
catches.
all one play, 60-yard
Right.
touchdown late in the third
Yeah.
quarter.
Yep. Otherwise, he has what,
3
3
for
catches for 20
21.
yards?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Um, and I heard, I did not see this, because I don't listen to all the games live. I'm watching most of them, but he the Dolphins had, it was 55 degrees, and the Dolphins had the heaters on their sideline because they were cold at 55.
Yeah.
What are they going to do this week in Buffalo?
They're going to struggle is what they're going to do, especially if there's a snowstorm.
I
It's
know,
already
I know.
21 degrees, 13-mile-an-hour winds, and possible snow. So obviously, you and I talked before the show. Avoid them as much as you can. You have to play. If you're Josh Allen's your quarterback, you have to play him. If Tua's your quarterback, Tyreek Hill's on your team, you have to play him. But in a format like once and done, you don't.
Right. Justin Herbert, he eclipsed 300 yards through the air again. It was his second week in a row. I think he did last week as well, maybe. And his touchdown pass went to Mike Williams' first game back, 6 catches, 116 in that score. He
It's some
looked,
great catches in that game.
he looked great. And Keenan Allen, 12 catches for 92 yards. Can you imagine if these dudes could just stay on the field?
It's funny you say that. So I was just going to say, I give Mike Williams about another quarter and a half. Keenan Allen's really, really playing on borrowed time. This is like 3 games in a row, so he might not make it past halftime.
Gosh, they'd be good. And obviously Eckler's good. He always finds a way to get it done.
Such a
If
beast.
he sucks on the ground, he's good through the air and vice versa.
He's still one of those guys I told you earlier in the season. Every time he touches the ball, it's not even like I'm wondering if he might score. It's like I expect him that he's going to probably score. He's just that electric. The dude is awesome.
What a team, man! If they could just stay healthy, but
just can't get it together. They either score in a game but give up way too many, or they hold a team down pretty good but don't score. They just can't get their act together. They wouldn't be in the playoffs. New England's win the other night thrust them into the number 7 spot due to whatever convoluted tiebreaker there is. Right now, all 4, or no, I think the Jets are just barely out. The Jets are like the number 8 right now.
I don't know. We can look it up, but
I think they're the number 8, or no, they're the 9, and the Chargers are the 8, but they have the same record.
Because the Patriots are 7-6,
right? But they have the tiebreaker over both of them, and then the Bengals and Miami are the other 2 wild cards right now.
Yeah, and what obviously helped the Pats this past week was a 27-13 win over Arizona in Arizona. You mentioned earlier your boy Cliff Kingsbury is probably going to be jobless after this season. Mac Jones, nothing. Our boy Pierre Strong, buddy, 5 carries, 70 yards, and a score. You like seeing that. He's explosive, man. We really liked him coming out. We hated that he went to the Patriots, but he got the chance, obviously, because Ramondre Stevenson went down with injury. None of the pass catchers are worth having. Hopefully you didn't have to start Hunter Henry. If you did, I guess you got a decent game, 3 for 70. But that's it.
But in the tight end world, 3 for 70, you take it and you say thank you, sir, and you move on.
8.5 points, and you're
happy.
Fairly excited.
More than I get any given week out of a tight end.
This was like the death game because was it Devontae Parker? I think went out with a concussion. Ramondre Stevenson went out, came back for 1 play, and then was out forever. Kyler Murray tore his ACL. Man, so rough.
I texted you when it happened right away. I could tell just by the way his knee buckled. Having done it and having seen so many of these players with it, you could just see right away torn ACL. I texted you that before they even got him off the field.
Yeah. James Conner was good, as was DeAndre Hopkins per usual. And that's it, man. How do you feel about Hopkins for the playoffs and one and done with Colt McCoy throwing the ball?
I feel great because I already played him.
Okay.
But I do have him in my league of records, so I don't like that.
No, it doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball.
He doesn't do bad with McCoy. He's still going to get his targets.
Look at
do
his
his
Houston
thing. I mean, he
Texan
had 11
quarterbacks.
targets in this game, and Murray didn't even make it out of the barely got halfway through the first quarter. So
Right.
yeah, I'm this was
He's fine.
all everything he did was McCoy. Murray had one attempt. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't feel bad about it. I'd rather Murray, but I don't feel awful about it.
All right, sir.
Also, a
You ready
guy
to?
in my league, another one. This dude has to just win one game. He's going into Monday night. All he has to do is beat his guy by who's only 12 points ahead of him. Who has nobody. He has Hollywood and the Cardinals D. To beat him, all he needs is that. He ends up getting 9.4 points out of both of them. Did you see Hollywood's drop?
I did not.
He's on yet another fourth down play. Colt McCoy puts this ball in the most perfect spot you could have. But for some reason, 30 yards down the field, he's streaking Hollywood. He decides he's going to jump at it. Instead of letting it just hit him right in the hands, he jumps up in the air and tries to catch it like down at his knees. Of course, Hollywood being Hollywood, the ball just bounces off the stone hands. But if he makes that catch, 3.5 more points, Tig Biddies is into the playoffs over the Red Ravagers. Just bad. You said at the beginning of the show you want to talk about some bad beats. That play alone, if he'd have just kept running, would have hit. He still probably would have dropped it because he's awful. But the dude would be in the playoffs because he'd have got 3.5 more points and only needed 3.
Yeah, I saw one guy. Now this is not in any league of mine. But you see those bad beats pop up. Some guy needed 3 points to win, and he had Ramondre Stevenson and Kyler Murray.
Oh wow. Didn't get a whole lot there, did he?
Oh no, man. He's out of the playoffs now. He
Wow.
didn't even make it in because of that loss.
That's ugly. That's
I
ugly.
know. All right, let's look ahead, sir, into this coming week. And I know we hit on it a little bit, like talking about the one and done stuff, but QBs over the last 4 weeks. The Detroit Lions giving up second most points to quarterbacks. We saw what Kirk Cousins just did to them. And Mike White is telling me he's good to go. I don't know how his insides are still where they're supposed to be and in one piece or in their, hole. But if he's good to go, man, it's tough to not throw him out there against the Lions defense.
They're saying it's looking like he's going to go, and he said today he's definitely playing, but that doesn't always work out. A guy that I was looking at and making a big, he's starting to come back a little bit is Mr. Aaron Rodgers Monday night. I would have never thought that at the beginning of the season that this would be a great game for him playing the Rams. But boy, are they awful.
Yeah, they're middle of the pack though against points.
Yeah, but I just really think it's a Monday night game. Rodgers thrives. They need this win to stay in the playoff hunt. And the Rams are just awful. And I think that I would love to still have Rodgers left. I would think about playing him this week, but I do not.
No way. I'm not trusting that guy.
Oh,
Not
I
for
am.
a second.
I am against them.
Running backs. I think you can, depending on health, because Antonio Gibson a little banged up here and there, but flip a coin for the Washington running backs. Play them against the New York Giants. The Giants, Miles Sanders just scorched them, and they are giving up the second most points to running backs over the last 4 weeks. Seattle, who's playing tonight, obviously the only team giving up more points to the running back position.
Typically, this would be somebody that you'd be like, oh, really? Of course. But since Jonathan Taylor's not really had much of a season and sort of shit the bed last week, pardon my French, I have him up against the Vikings defense over the last 4 weeks and getting up the fourth most points to running backs. Yeah, I'm going with Jonathan Taylor. I hope he has a huge, huge week.
I bet you do. Receivers, if I'm rolling with Mike White, I might as well throw in Garrett Wilson with him. Or if you want to go dig deeper, why not Elijah Moore? We both love him. And obviously that's a long shot. You're not going to have him anything but a flex. Hey, you could do worse, though, as the Lions give up the second most points to quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks, but the most points to the wide receiver position, and by a pretty big margin, 5 points between them and second place, which are the Titans.
I'm digging deep here. This is one of those dart throws.
Well, this
Jonathan
is good.
Peoples-Jones.
Oh, he led the team last week.
Loves to give up big plays. And in a week where Amari Cooper still is not quite right, he's going to be just good enough to be out there and be almost maybe have a couple good plays, but maybe just be a glorified decoy, and Peoples Jones could pick off his work off his great week last week. I think he had like 116 yards, and maybe get himself one of those, like, working one of those little 65-yard streaks down the field and get a touchdown. So I know that's a deep dig, and I hope it doesn't happen. But I fear for the Ravens this week. This game's one of those big, just they're just set up to lose this game.
And with the way DPJ plays, you only need one play for
That's
this
it.
call to work out for you,
You
right?
get a
45-yard
65-yard.
touchdown.
That's a lot of points all in one play.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Tight ends. I'm going to roll with my guy Gerald Everett. I've gone with him a few weeks in this spot, and he's got a great matchup. He's playing the Titans. They like to give up points to the tight end. So let's go Everett, and maybe Justin Herbert can go for 3 games in a row of 300 yards through the air.
Gotcha. I've got Dalton Schultz. I wish I still had him. I wish I hadn't wasted him earlier in the year. They're going against the Jags, who by far have given up the most points to tight ends over the last 4 weeks. Who their tight end himself had a pretty great week last week. But yeah, Dalton Schultz against Jags, he's guaranteed to score.
Lot of
guaranteed, but close.
Yeah, I got you. Lots of options for defenses this week because there's a lot of teams playing some pretty sketchy quarterbacks. The Chiefs going up against the Texans, who don't have any idea even how many quarterbacks they're going to play. And then obviously Kyler Murray's been out. So you got Denver's defense. You got Mason Rudolph might be starting for the Steelers. So you got some options here, man. Who you going with?
I got the Saints going against Atlanta in Desmond Ritter's first game.
Yes,
no Kyle
one.
Pitts, no this, no that in New Orleans. I don't understand it. Building off last week, you are in this division. You're what, 5? Or aren't the Falcons 5-8? You're a game out of first. This decision makes no sense. They say now they're saying since he left the team, Mariota, once he got benched, decided he was leaving. Now they're saying he needed knee surgery all along. Yeah. It's great spin on the whole situation, but I just don't understand the logic behind it. But man, that's a tough place against a really solid defense going into the Superdome for your first ever start with an awful team around you. I hope it works out horribly for Atlanta.
Yeah. And kicker for me, we're gonna go with.
Who was your D? Who did you actually pick? You listed like 3 of them. Who was your actual pick? You yelled at me last week for picking 2 Cowboys.
Let's go Kansas City, man.
Fair enough.
Well, I'm gonna have the Houston Texans going back to where they should be, and not who they were against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, they looked good last week, brother.
I know. And then for a kicker, we'll go with the Colts kicker. The Vikings are giving up.
That's not
Oh, calm down over there.
Yeah, because the Vikings give up the most points to kickers, and it's not even close. The last
it's almost a 50-yard field goal.
16 a game. The next is Seattle 11.
It's like a 45-yard field goal worth of extra points for kickers.
Wow, that's funny.
So I'll take it.
Yeah, that's why. Why wouldn't you?
Anything else for you?
No, I'm hoping Christian McCaffrey gets on his horse here. He started really well here, 10 points in the first half, but Seattle's had like an 8-minute drive here that's milking the clock, and I don't care for that. I was hoping to get at least 25 out of him tonight.
Plenty of time for that, and he can do that in 2 drives just about. So
hopefully he does it in one play.
All right, folks, thank you all for listening, checking us out. Be sure to hit us up on Spotify, Facebook, all that good stuff, and we will see you next week.
See ya.